I'm Robin.
I'm done.
Welcome to Bad Issues, the show where we one by one discuss everything wrong with the comic industry. This week we're discussing Comixology because they did a huge update where they merged everything and Amazon and this, that, and the other. And what is your opinion on it, Dan? Just quick synopsis.
It sucks.
Okay, there you go. And so this has been Bad Issues. We'll see you next week. No. Okay, if anyone doesn't know, Comixology.com was this website, and it was launched all the way back in 2007. And apparently, not gonna lie, look this up, didn't know. It was just an online community for comic fans. It was like a forum type situation which allowed readers to like identify upcoming books and develop pull lists with local comic book shops. Which I'm like, that is such a niche market that has no relevance now, you know? Which is kind of sad. And then it slowly became a comic book seller of digital, and then dun dun, big old. Is it Jeff Bezos? Is that the one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Amazon.
he walked in. He was like, I've already ruined the book market by making Kindle a thing. Let me just, and he sucked up Comixology. Amazon purchased which I don't think was the worst thing to happen. You know,
Wasn't.
it
Oh,
made
a few
it
months
did,
ago.
yeah, it did make it more professional, and the website was good and it worked well. We'll talk a little bit later on about how there's only one place to buy digital books really, and that's not great, especially because it's Amazon. But we move, and they unleashed a couple of new things. They did Comixology Unlimited, which do you have, Dan? I've never thought about getting it. Or
It
have you?
wasn't available in our country for a long ages.
Was it? Because I wasn't
I
really up
looked
to
into
date with it.
buying it and it was
Yeah.
like, no, not allowed.
Is it available now? Because I remember seeing it advertised on the old Comixology website. And I'm interested in, have they removed it when they merged it with Kindle?
I haven't seen it been mentioned
Yeah,
since
neither have I.
merger.
But then, if it was a working thing and money was coming in, you know they would have kept it. You know. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. And then now this is the biggest push, which started at, I believe, the start of this year or the middle of last year. Comixology originals, where it hires the biggest names in the comic book industry to make comics specifically just for that website. And by the way, I heard that it was some pretty pennies, you know, to take them
Yeah.
away from Marvel and DC to work, and that's I haven't read any. I don't know anyone who's read any. I haven't even seen them advertised really on Comixology itself or the website that was Comixology.com. But and I actually loved the website. And just to give people some context, me and Dan share a Comixology page. It's very simple. And when did we get into it? Was it 2 years ago?
About that, yeah.
Yeah, about that. Because before that, I had read like one comic maybe, and that was about it. But then Comixology came along, and then I bought all of Moon Knight because I have to mention him in every video apparently.
It
And
is.
Dan, well, what I want to know, because Comixology obviously worked. Is there any reason you think that it worked? Because there's only one
What do you
real
mean?
place to go. Like, was it the fact that it was simpler, or because it was incredibly
It was
simple, and
very
that's what
easy
I
to use, yeah.
loved about it. It was one website with a menu at the top that you could click on, all this different stuff. Everything was laid out across the screen. There were scroll wheels. If you want to find the latest comic, you go to New Comics. If you want to know about that comic, you click on that comic and then read the blurb. You want to know the publisher, you click his name. Or the author,
Yeah.
you click their name. Publisher, you click the big
See the
image of their
series is
logo.
under as well.
Yeah, that's one of the things I loved most. Was when you'd click on an issue of a comic and then underneath it would go, this issue is collected in, and then say the graphic novel or the trade, or a collection, an omnibus that it's in. And I'm like, that is excellent. That is the type of stuff where it's like, oh, so you want to buy this comic? Why don't you go up a scale and buy this one for a little bit more expensive? Or you might as well just get the omnibus then, you know? Like
Yeah.
that's good. That's a good business practice. I just did appreciate. And the list system was so sexy. Do you know, like the watch where we had our
Yeah.
list of comics where we could put them into groups of the series, of the issues. Then we had our list of like stuff we
Yeah.
wanted, and you could easily remove them, you could delete them, you could archive them. Oh, beautiful. And the one thing I wanted from it was for you to be able to customize your own list. You know,
Yeah.
where I would have put all the Moon Knight comics all into one big list in order. You know,
Yeah.
like that would have been personally sexy. I never used the app until that point. I just stayed on Comixology.com because it was easy enough to do it on pretty much any device. But then something happened, didn't it, Dan?
Yeah, that update came along, and I almost uninstalled the
Yeah,
entire thing.
go on, Dan. You can have a rant for a bit. Go on, go off on it.
It's just. But the main issue is the website is now not existent.
Yes, which I do rate that when you type in Comixology.com, it just sends you to Kindle now. It doesn't just crash immediately, you know. And it's like this website doesn't
Yeah.
exist. No, it refers you over to there. But yeah, that website's
But it
gone.
sucks.
And people were having
So
huge
it's
problems with it at the
impossible
beginning
to
as well.
find
Yeah,
any sales now. That
yeah.
used to be a big thing.
And the funniest thing was every time I've tried to read Comixology on anything except the app, I always message you and ask how to do it. Because there's no. I'm so confused by the website because it's Kindle. I've personally never used Kindle before. I bet people who've used Kindle would find it easier. But because I haven't, and I'm there for Comixology, I keep having to look up how to even get to my comics list. You know?
Yeah.
God, it's mad, isn't it? And wasn't like the first month terrible for the website as well? Or the
When it
Kindle?
first came over, it was awful, and there was some people who lost all their comics as well.
Yeah, which I'm interested to know if they got them back, because I presume they would. They did.
Presume they did.
Yeah.
Didn't affect us
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah. But
We didn't
yeah,
have thousands and thousands of.
yeah. And the guided view. And by the way, I learned this the other day. I don't believe all comics on there have guided view anymore.
It took me
is that
ages
correct?
to figure it out.
Well, how to do guided view? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because is that reading? Because I'm pretty sure any new comics that come out, guided view isn't there for them. I don't know if that was just a rumor that I heard or just something that's been updated since. Because it's obvious that someone was paid and their job was to do every comic. They would have to go through and like go around the panels and figure out the layout of the story, put it in the code, you know. And I wouldn't put it past Amazon to be like, why are we paying that guy? Just read them like a book, you know.
Yeah.
Which I could see happening. I now have to read them in. I don't even use guided view because it's a little bit janky when I do. So I don't. But God, just trying to find the website was bad enough. Or not the website, the main page with all my comics on it. And apparently, wasn't it at the beginning as well? It's like pages would be upside down and sideways and like
Yeah,
they
it
wouldn't
was a
be.
mess.
Yeah, which I don't know how.
I stopped using it for about a month.
Yes, yeah, we both did for a while. Just stopped it entirely because let them figure out their shit first. I don't get why there wasn't a beta version done first. You know?
Yeah.
Where Comixology.
It was a forced update as well.
Yeah, Comixology.com remains a thing. They updated their Kindle to link with Comixology, and that was the beta. And all over Comixology.com, they were advertising, move over to Kindle, try and get people to go over. Then they could have figured out all the problems. Then figured out what people, because obviously people are still going to be in an uproar about it, and they were. Which I'm like, it's not the worst thing in the world, you know? It's a website changed into Kindle. And it's like, but comparatively, especially because it's one of the only places you can get digital comics from, and you fucked it for a month. I bet I'd love to see the digital sales of those 3 months. Just see them like they're a constant level and then dip for a month and then come back, you know? And I bet you, just like we did, that many people are still not using it. Like they've just sworn off it now. Because most people have a problem with Amazon anyway, but now that they've changed the entire system, I bet a lot of people have left. And I'd love to see those numbers as well. Why don't we have any numbers or stats for anything ever? You know?
It was too embarrassing this year.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it past it. Just Jeff Bezos looking at. Actually, I don't even. He's probably not even involved. You know, he probably doesn't even know what Comixology is. 16 people under him. One of them bought Comixology for him. You know. Oh, what's some of the problems? The other thing. It's difficult to use and removing all the features that I loved. My favourite thing to do, almost every week, I would go on to New Comics. I would go into the Marvel publisher, see what they've put out that week. Go into the DC publisher, what they've put out. Maybe I'll look at Image today, you know? I'll have a look at Dark Horse. Now I physically don't know how to do it. I don't know how to get into a publisher's listing.
I'm on the app right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Press, there's an option I can look at New Comics.
Yeah.
And it just gives me a load of bollocks. If I'm on the home link, all it shows is comics that are included with Prime Reading, Comixology Originals, this week's featured releases. Which they all
Okay,
anyway.
that's interesting that they are now pushing
They have
Comixology.
sort of, there is a way to
there must be a way to
find them.
Yeah, because there's comics, manga, and graphic novel deals, books for you, which I'm like, you've just given me books that are in the same run or are in my wish list already. You know, there's barely an algorithm to try and find out what I like. Bestsellers for you, and I love this. It's like, books for you, explore for you, bestsellers for you. It's like, why are you trying to guess? You know?
Yeah.
Why are you trying to guess what I like? Just give me all the data and an easy possible way to find it. You know? And then I'll do it myself, you know? I'm interested. If I just type in Marvel, can I go to the publisher? I'll just click on a random book. Can I go to the publisher? Something that's interesting now, there's reviews. So on every comic you can click down and see reviews because it's linked to that Kindle system. But I don't know if I'll ever use that. Okay, you can go into the artists and authors. But what if I just want to get to the Marvel page and see strictly, like, not what's the best for me or what the best seller is. I want to know just the fact of what have they put out this week. I don't care about what's selling the best or what Amazon predicts me to like. I just want to know the best.
I can look at the publisher.
Ooh, all new releases, publisher, Marvel 16. Okay, so you can get to it. But by God, that's awkward. Where you have to go into Discover and then Discover New Comics and then go all the way to the bottom, then go on Publisher, then go on Marvel and then scroll down. Where before, it was homepage, has a button to Marvel, click on it, now just scroll through a wheel. That's all you have to do. It's as simple as that. And that's the main problem. It's like, I don't care about them merging with Kindle. I don't care that they've changed their interface. I care that they ruined great aspects of Comixology. Now that they've made it confusing, and I'm like, why would you ever do that? And I'm sure it's just for money purposes. They want more people to use the Kindle app because that boosts their numbers. They don't want to have to pay for the Comixology.com to stay alive. They don't have to pay for the guided view person. And I reckon they've probably scrubbed, because there must have been a team behind the scenes working on Comixology just specifically, you know?
Yeah.
Just an entire Comixology team. And I bet they've been halved. Because all the people that founded this company left, you know? They're no longer there anymore. And I'm like, I hope to God there's one guy who works there who likes comics. You know? There has to be. Because if it just turns into like a bunch of businessmen controlling our only platform to get comics, it's going to go into the ground. You know? It's not going to be able to survive like that. So, my God. Is there anything good about this merging? Other than, I would say the apps are a little bit cleaner. the apps, I believe the app worked better now than it was when it was Comixology.com. Like on your phone, on your iPad,
Yeah.
it's easier now just to go onto the Kindle app or the Comixology app because it's cleaner. And this may just be a personal view of mine, but I think the reader is simpler. Like when you're actually reading the comic, it's very simple to use.
You can scroll along as well.
Yes, scrolling along. Oh, beautiful. Don't have to click a button.
I will give it to him as well.
Yeah.
Downloading is a lot quicker now.
Is it? Because I don't download my comics. Can you download like any comic, or is it specific ones?
You can only download the ones you bought, but currently I've got like 40 downloaded.
Really?
And it was so much quicker to
And
download.
has that space of has that gotten bigger? You know?
Well, I used to be able to download like 6.
Well, and that was the max, was it?
Yeah, and then my phone would give up.
That's interesting.
But it's just quicker now to do it.
So maybe it's quicker and you have more like theoretical storage for it because it's now connected to Kindle and they're used to those transactions happening. Which that's interesting and that is a good aspect. But other than that, I don't really see...
I can't forgive getting rid of Comixology as its own website.
Yes. No. That is unforgivable. If... oh, sorry. If they had done a thing where Comixology.com stayed a thing, but they also merged it with Kindle. So now Kindle, you can read all your Comixology. That would be great. Because now I can read all my books in a Kindle format, you know? And then if I want to use Comixology.com, if I want to like... Because Comixology.com was good for finding new books. This, I believe, is good for reading your books, you know?
Yeah.
But now finding anything, and do you know what the best thing was? Sales. The sales section on the old Comixology.com website.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god.
Our books were through that.
Yeah. 50% off. Beautiful. And they would be right there on the homepage for me to see. Now, I don't even... Do they even do sales anymore? I couldn't tell you.
I've never seen them since the change.
No. And I'm like... And it's kind of bad because on the...
My main issue is like, if when you go to buy stuff now, I've just gone on Comixology.com, it's showing me that.
Yeah.
Like stuff that I just seen on the website. It's like, okay, maybe I'm looking for something different that I don't usually buy. Like, say, the other day when I bought loads of Transformers books, we'll talk about it. I've got to actually search up the exact book I want to get.
Ugh. God.
It's like, I've got to make sure that I don't accidentally press something.
Yeah.
And now I'm buying the book in physical.
Really? Because I haven't bought any books since the merger.
I just found sales, by the way. They have made it easier now.
Okay.
I'm looking at the Batman Who Laughs right now, Kindle and Comixology. I pressed the wrong button when I go to buy. I'm now buying the paperback version.
Ooh. Now that's spicy. How do you get to the sales? Because I want to know now.
Go on Comixology.com and then...
Oh, is it on Comixology.com?
Right at the top,
Oh, that's the problem.
But now, I've accidentally pressed that one button. I'm no longer on Comixology. I'm on Amazon.
Oh, yeah. And was this... Let's just speak about it. Was this a positive thing for the comic industry? And that's what this show is about going in depth into little topics about the comic industry and whether it's hurting the industry or helping it. And obviously we want it to be helped as it's a small niche industry. But did this help?
Really? I think it was fine as it was.
Yes. That's my exact thing as well. I think it was fine. There was no reason to tamper with it. There was plenty of stuff you could have added to the website, like the new reader, like customizable lists, that sort of thing. Some of the stuff that they have on the Kindle. But to completely scrub it is shocking. They could have made, and I know the Kindle is linked to the Amazon, they could have done the exact same. Where Kindle is a different thing to Amazon, isn't it? They may be linked, but they're different. They have their own app. They have their own place on the internet. Do the exact same thing for Comixology, where you can purchase Comixology digital comics on Amazon, on Kindle, or just go to Comixology.com. Just to remove it fully is just a pain. And like I said, I reckon Comixology has lost subscribers, lost like viewers over this, which that's never great to lose customers in like a small industry like the comic book industry. So I'm like, that sucks. The only thing that may be a positive out of this, which yet again I would have to look at the sales and stats and stuff, maybe new people are getting into comics. Maybe. Or people who are like, oh, I don't know. Because I didn't hear about Comixology until I was looking into the into the comics industry. I learned about it by doing my own studies and research and stuff. Just because, even though I like Marvel, I like DC, I was never shown it to me, you know? So maybe now that it's merged with Kindle, maybe they're getting new people purchasing comics. But I doubt it, you know? It's just, it's an interesting give and take. Now, would you like it to go back to the way it was then?
Yeah.
You would just straight out, you would prefer to go back to the way it was?
Since it changed, I actually went back to buying physical books, digital.
Which that not everyone would do that who turns off Comixology, but that's not hurting the industry, that's more just hurting Comixology. Which I don't want to do either, technically, but it's this weird give and take, because I would prefer if they kept the merging, but they made it simpler. They made it like Comixology.com. They could have even used the exact same interface, where if you go onto Amazon, and you go into your account, and then there's a big button that says Comixology, you click on that, and it looks just like the Comixology website, but at the top it has the Amazon bar across it, you know? They could have theoretically done that, but they obviously didn't due to like branding and wanting it to look like the rest. But you could have done that and kept all the same details in the same place, because obviously people don't like change. But the reason change is bad for this, because we knew something, like we knew how to get to certain things in the Comixology. Like me asking you where the sales are and stuff. I shouldn't do that because I've been using Comixology for the past like 2-3 years, you know. And now they've changed it, and now I don't know where anything is. So this is a little bit tragic.
It's definitely better now, but I think that's just because we're getting used to it. But
yes, as the more updates are happening, as the clearly management or like whoever has control over this Comixology merging is getting better, and hopefully they're listening to fans as well. You know?
Yeah.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Now here's the big topic. Is Comixology good for the comic book industry? Just off the top of your head, Dan, yes or no? Is the idea of selling digital comics online through this website a good idea?
Yeah.
Explain.
Yeah.
Give me a slight sentence.
Well, old Comixology, I'd say, because we used to open that. It's like it always pushed not the big names, the lesser names, like brands.
That's true.
Were on there. You had to find the big names like Marvel and DC.
Yeah. Like Marvel and DC had their own page, but then, I loved it. It went Marvel, DC, Image. You know? It took me 2 seconds to get to Dark Horse. Took me 2 seconds to, I don't know, Cow Comics or whatever? Immediately I can go there. Now this one, I may cry if I try and get to a niche publisher. I might just have a mental breakdown and throw my iPad out the window. But what I was going to discuss is Comixology is the only real seller of comics online. I'm sure there's other websites. I'm sure. Well, there's stuff like, is it Marvel Unlimited, and what's the DC version of that?
I think DC has one.
They used to have one, wasn't it? DC Universe had a section of comics.
The DC Universe like streaming thing.
Yeah.
It's now where you can get it.
Okay. But
don't do the streaming shows anymore. They just
those are subscription services, and I'm like, a subscription service is good, but why don't Marvel sell their own stuff? And I know in the 90s and stuff they tried to be their own comic publisher and send like copies out to stores and stuff, but that's not what I'm talking about here. It's
Yeah.
digital. It's one of the easiest things to do online is sell digital products. Why
Yeah.
aren't
Oh,
they
by the
selling
way,
them?
he's
Yeah,
see, I've just gone on their website, went to look in the shop, not available in my location.
nice. Real nice. God. So I don't get why Marvel and DC don't sell their own stuff. And I'm pretty sure, like, Image might do. Indie comic book publishers definitely do. I have a feeling it's because, well, for one, Marvel is owned by Disney. So they're always going to. It's weird. You go on their website, they push merch more than their comics. You know?
Yeah.
Which I'm sure comics cost a lot to make. It's like making a short film and then only pushing the material of a merchandisable shirt for that short film. You know? You put so much effort and work into it and spend money to create a product, and then you sell a product, you're pushing the product with that character's face on it. I'm like, both work, but one may be a little bit more important than the other. And then, so practically, Comixology is Monopoly now. Monopoly is like,
Yeah.
you're the only one in the industry, so you can control the industry. Which isn't great, obviously. And now Comixology is the only one, and it can cause these problems to where it shuts down or doesn't work for a month. I'm now not reading digital comics for a month. If there was an alternative, maybe I could go to there. There has been alternatives in the past, like Comic Fix. I believe was one, but that was another subscription service. Uh,
Yeah,
I
subscription services.
yeah
Like trying to read online. Comixology.
yeah they like, but a subscription service is not what I'm after. I'm not the type of person who will read any comic. You know, you do a subscription, they give you this many comics a month. I don't want to do that. I want specific comics. That's my type of. I'm that type of comic fan. I want very specific books, and I'll only read them. And other than Comixology, there's not many places I can do that unless I want to go through Amazon and get them physically. Which either way, I'm going to the exact same place to do so now. You know? Which I'm like, I don't have a problem with Amazon, except some of its business practices with Comixology. You know? I've never asked you this. Do you have a problem with Amazon, or is it just sort of there for you as well?
No, it's just kind of there.
It's just kind of there. Which is fair enough, but there needs to be someone who pushes back against Amazon and Comixology, you know? Which would be good if, let's say, in the next few months, a big website comes out that is a seller of comics, and then Marvel and DC joins them as well. Obviously, their Comixology only work isn't on there, and imagine if, because I believe the last time I checked, Comixology, if you try to publish through them, 50% of the profits of that book go to Comixology. I believe it was around 50 to 30%, which is ridiculous. It's a digital product. You don't have to do anything except sell it. And I get that. So 10%, 20%. So I would love a website to come out that is better rates for comic creators, an easier website, plenty of more like details and specific things where maybe they do have pull lists for local comic book shops. Maybe they also tell you what comic shops are in your neighborhood. They can, with contact information, how to go to that comic book shop. You know?
Yeah.
I would love a website like that where it makes Comixology shit itself. Where it goes, fuck, because we've been the only one for so long, we've only ever wanted to do it our way. So we've been manipulating our audience, but now because there's a new one and people are liking that more because it's got better whatever, we now have to change how we work. You know? It's like Marvel and DC where they're the big two. Marvel fails, DC fails. I would love there to be two comic book sellers online, you know? Very different things, very different ways of working, just so Comixology doesn't, like, we don't have to live by their rules, sort of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Do you make sense? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, their rules, their price, that's what you gotta pay.
Yeah, their rules, their price, their. If they fail, I'm not reading comics for a month. God. I don't typically get angry at many things, but when that changed, I was like, That's no good. That's no bueno. You know? My God. Little bit fuming about it. But then obviously it goes over and no one's really talking about it anymore. And my main point of this episode is to discuss what we wanted it to be. And you said that you wanted it to go back to its own ways, but keep some of the aspects. And I want it to just update enough to where it's good. And then, do you agree with my thing that there should be more revenue, more avenues for buying more comics? You know?
There should be options.
Yeah, there definitely should be, because now there's just one way of doing it, and they can control
They
the
got it
market.
at the point where, like,
Yeah,
if somebody tried, they could shut them down or buy them
yeah,
out.
exactly. And do you know what's really interesting? Now we'll wrap up this video in a sec, but I just want to talk about something that happened when Comixology started. Do you know why comics come out and they're the same price as physical comic books? Do you know when they first come out?
They're not allowed to be cheaper, are they? Because
Yes,
it's
because of the local comic book shops, they caused like a ruckus and an uproar, and now there's a deal where they will keep them the same price. But then you wait a few months, and it's now gone down. You know, well, you have to wait a lot of months, and then by that time you just get a graphic novel or whatever. But that's such ridiculous. And I obviously want to make comics. That's what Infernum Comics is. We try to produce our own work, and I understand that they need money, but it's a digital book. Now the price of printing is gone. The price of manufacturing it, the price of sending it to comic book shops is gone. The price of keeping the comic book shop open, that's gone. So why am I still paying £4 for a comic issue? You know? A little bit ridiculous. And we would love to hear more people's opinions, because we're two people who don't know everything about the website clearly and the merger and the history of Comixology, and we have similar opinions. I would love to hear from someone who loves this merger. You know, see why they like it, and I bet they'd be a fan. They're like a Kindle reader or something. You know, so they were already
guess
there.
if you read books, like
Yes, if you were already there and you were using Comixology, so you're using Kindle and Comixology, the fact that they've now merged may make it simpler for some people. But
guess
other
you
than
can now
that,
read your comics on a Kindle.
yeah, that's true. I always, when I think of Kindle now, I think of the app and the website, not the Kindle device.
It's actually a device.
Yeah, which do many people own them?
I don't know. I think it was a thing for a while, but
Yeah, just get an iPad and go on Google as well. It's a little bit nice, you know.
I didn't download
The app.
the Kindle app.
Yeah, but there you go. Before we go off a weird rant about does the Kindle actually exist, we'll wrap this video up. So that was our opinions on Comixology, some of the info about the merger, and like we said, we'd love to know more people's opinions about this. And I'd love to know more opinions on why, like, Comixology is the only one. Why do people think that that's the only one that survived all this time? Maybe it's Amazon, maybe it was the simplicity. But now that that's gone, have fun, Comixology. This has been the Bad Issues from Infernum Comics. Thank you for listening.